What's going on, Canes fans? It's your host, Kyle Hino, joined by my co-host, Kevin Smith. And today we're going to talk about our first game of the season, break down our thoughts and instant reaction on the UF-UM game from this past Saturday. We'll break it down a little bit, and then once we kind of give our thoughts, then we will have some call-ins at the end of the show, let some of the fans vent, because we know it's definitely a stressful game, aggravating game. But with that being said, we're excited to talk. So, Kevin, what's going on, man?
Going on, Kyle? I mean, like I told you earlier, I even rewatched the game earlier today because, of course, I'm a glutton for punishment. But I'm really excited to just talk about this game, break it down a little bit, and then, of course, let some Cane fans get on here, just vent a little bit. Obviously, I've seen a lot on Twitter today about just today and yesterday, just people are in their feelings, man. So it'd be nice to get some callers in here and let them kind of just spew and vent whatever they'd like.
Well, let's talk our feelings and thoughts to begin with. What just a brief before we kind of dive in and dissect it a little bit. Give me your brief thoughts on the game.
Yeah, so first I want to say kudos to Canes fans because that place was as close to 50-50 I think as you could get. I expected it to kind of be 60-40, but I would say it was probably a 55-45 split. So kudos to Canes fans for coming out there and really showing out. I mean, it's one of those things, man, where we knew the difficulties we were gonna have, and they showed. And we talked about it on the last pod. The offensive line and stuff that we worried about obviously showed. They got manhandled all night. From where I was sitting, you can just see. It felt like you would, if you looked up for a second after the ball was snapped, you felt like you would look down back at the field and there was already three guys in the backfield. Like it literally just didn't. It never felt like there was ever a clean pocket. And then obviously we were worried about Jaren, but Jaren played great in my opinion. He didn't make mistakes, and that's what I told you before. That's all I wanted the quarterback not to do is not make mistakes, and he didn't do that. He threw no picks. He fumbled a couple times, but luckily we were able to get on top of him. But once again, you get hit so many freaking times. I don't blame him. It's one of those things where I don't know how he wasn't just so rattled by the fourth quarter after the amount of times he was getting hit. So, but going back and watching the game, and when we break it down even more further, like just so many things that you just kind of like cringe because it's like if you could have that back, like it's just one little play, like you could point to the muffed punt, you can point to Jeff Thomas not coming down with that pass in the end zone. You can point to the phantom holding call on the Cameron Davis 60-yard run. So many opportunities to go up 2 scores, and at that point, it's game over. I think if we had a chance to go up 20-10, go up 2 scores, there's no way they were gonna come back. And you just knew that they were gonna get one all night. I know you were worried. One of your biggest worries was the secondary, and the secondary played phenomenal. If you look at Frank's stats, the majority of his passing yards were on legit 2 throws. The Tony throw, that there were just 1,000 missed tackles. It wasn't a breakdown in coverage or anything. And then the one to Hammond for 65
Well,
yards.
and let's start with that, because my problem wasn't worrying about the secondary getting beat all night. My problem was the secondary getting beat big on a select amount of plays that were going to change the game, and that's exactly what happened. That's my only, and I'm going to say this, and anyone who disagrees with what I'm saying can go back and listen to the last podcast. Verbatim, I called every way that Florida would score, and that's exactly what they did. Florida, like we both know, Florida's offense isn't very good. Dan Mullen does a good job coaching around it, but they're not that good. We knew they weren't going to drive on Miami, and I even said that. They're not going to drive on Miami consistently. They might have 1 or 2 scores where they scored offensively, but they score 3 ways. They score by key turnovers, which happened with Jeff Thomas. Now, I said it would come from an inexperienced guy like Jaren Williams throwing a pick or something. That's where I thought it would come from. Never would I have thought Jeff Thomas would do it. But they scored on the muff punt. That was the key turnover. They gave them a touchdown. I knew that because they can't drive on us consistently. And then I told you Franks only throws 3 passes, and that's screens. Well,
Dude,
4.
Frank's
He
is
throws
duty, bro. Franks is
Oh,
doing
no,
it.
no, absolutely. And that's what I said. And I told everybody he's going to throw 4 passes. He's going to throw screens, outs, slants, and down the seams. And he's only going to throw down the seams once they run it consistently enough to get that play action going a little bit. And what happened? He threw an easy pass, and kudos to him, it was a good pass, but he threw a pass down the seam, and the only reason that was open is because Amari Carter, first-time starter, messed the play up, and he was supposed to be back there backing Frierson, and he wasn't. So I told everybody, look, they're going to look for the big throw, and it's usually just down the seams because he doesn't have to look, make reads. He doesn't have to look the safety off. He doesn't have to do a lot. Play action, throw the ball down the seam. If we tackle well, we have to stop the run and stop the little screen game. Don't let their athletes break off because they just do. They throw those screens and running game at you all game, waiting for you to break.
By the way,
and we broke.
I want to point out real quick to listeners or anyone out there was a nasty, blatant hold on that Tony. Obviously, yes, there was like 1,000 missed tackles, but what sprung him even going past 10 yards was there was a nasty hold on Bandy that, of course, was not called.
Yeah, it's
just officiating.
That's fine. That was all game. But my problem again is inexperience in the defensive backfield allowed that big pass down the seams and allowed them to score quickly. Inexperience in the backfield allowed you saw Gervin Hall, who's going to be great for us, who did good all night, but he came down to hit Tony. He put his eyes at the ground, and he missed the tackle. He tried to lay a hit. He missed. Now, if Jaquan Johnson was there, it would have been a tackle because that's the experience level. And just like and even the coaches repeated it. Look, if Michael Jackson was there instead of Blades on the next guy coming up, he would have made a tackle. And Michael Jackson wasn't a very good tackler when he first came to Miami, but he got better and better. Well, now you have Blades instead of Jackson, and he comes up and he tries to arm tackle, and he doesn't get it. So again, 2 touchdowns, both I'm pinning on the defensive backfield. A miscommunication on one, which, hey, it happens. Dan Mullen does a good job disguising packages, confusing people, but young guys didn't see it. I believe if we had our safeties from last year, neither one of those plays happened. And you're talking about 14 points being taken away.
Listen, no, man.
So
listen, though, man. I put absolutely zero emphasis on this loss on anyone on the defense.
No, but listen, that's my whole point of the last podcast. That's what I'm trying to drill home at fans, though. It's not that I think Miami's defense isn't good. It's not that I think these guys won't be good. It is 1 or 2 plays that can change a ball game. And there's other things that change a ball game. The muff punt, all this. Yeah, absolutely not. I'm absolutely not angry.
Is it effed up to think? Let me just throw a question to you right now. If Jeff Thomas is not on this team, do we win the game tomorrow? Do we win the game on Saturday?
I think that's. I mean, I guess you could say that, but that's kind of a toss-up because, I mean, truthfully, had Jeff Thomas helped us.
That muffed punt was such a backbreaker that it gave them life. Like they came out in the second half, they had an okay drive, got a field goal, and then our defense really started pinning their ears back, and they couldn't do anything.
Okay, but my issue is 2 defensive players missing 2 easy tackles when you have them pinned on the sideline is more mind-boggling to me than Jeff Thomas trying to get under the punt, not getting under there quick enough with guys in his face and muffing a punt. Like, it's just as bad. And just that's why Mark Rick. That's why Manny Diaz comes running down the sideline, screaming and cussing at his players, saying, "If you tackle, we win." All we had to do was tackle, and play sound football and do our job, and we didn't. And it's all even. Like everyone wants to point at one play and say that was it. Sure, if Jeff Thomas doesn't fumble, we probably win the game. But if he does fumble and we make an easy tackle, we probably win the game. You know what I mean? If Amari Carter makes the right play and he knows where he's supposed to be, but one guy back there with Hall, he messes a play up and they get an easy throw down the seams. We all know Franks can only throw 3 passes, short passes and screens, and then down the seams if it's wide open. And it was wide open. You know what I mean? And this is where I'm definitely going to brag on myself here because don't give him an easy turnover to score on. Jeff Thomas did that. Don't give him a pass down the seams. Don't let him break a tackle and a run and a screen. They did all 3 of those things. At no point in that game did you see Franks, with his doo-doo arm, march down the field on Miami's defense. And I'm with you. I am insanely impressed with the defensive backfield. And where I was wrong was I was worried Now that Bandy's our number one guy, I was worried that was going to be a matchup advantage.
Andy was a
disadvantage.
dog.
And yes, absolutely. I was thoroughly impressed with the young guys. I was impressed with Hall and Carter and Frierson and
Frierson played very well. You got
all of them.
You got to think you're going to have Ivy there too. You know, I mean, I'm fairly confident in the defensive secondary now for the rest of the year, mainly because we don't play anyone. We don't play anyone that scares me.
We played our toughest game. We played our toughest game, and we threw the win away. Absolutely. But this is the thing. That's why I picked Florida to win, because I've watched enough football. It just happens. Now, Jeff is not an inexperienced guy, so him turning that ball over, that obviously takes away a little bit of what I was trying to get across. However, my point of making, hey, don't give a key turnover where they can make an easy score where that happens. So, but mainly inexperience. That you saw inexperience at tackle allows 10 sacks, and also inexperience at Jaron Williams holding the ball too long because he's a young guy. Inexperience in the defensive backfield, allowing big plays. And my whole point, anyone listening to this podcast, go back to the last podcast. The reason I picked UF to win close, and I think I had them winning by 3 or 4, and they won by 4, was simply because experience always finds a way to win. And technically here, Florida didn't find a way to win. We found a way to lose. I agree with fans on that. I agree. And
winning the win.
I agree. You replace those defensive backs with who we had last year, okay? And you give us our same offensive line as last year, we probably win that ball game. Because you're not going to – because this is – let's be real. We've never been – under Mark pass blocking, we were never that bad. And the only reason these are bad is because they're freshmen. And that was my whole point. It's just key plays. So my whole point is just inexperience. At the end of the day, it came down to inexperience. And yes, that one key turnover from Jeff Thomas, who is not inexperienced, hurts. But that I'm not convinced that fumble was more egregious than the missed tackles on the screen and the missed field goal and things like that.
Don't even get me started. There's just so many things you could point to the game. Like, if you haven't gone back and watched the game, rewatched the game, I just don't, because you'll just get even more frustrated. And I'm one of those people that I'm not mad that we lost, really, because like you said, like, this is our toughest game of the year. I mean, I feel comfortable in the rest of the year now, because we're only going to improve. A lot of young guys on the team, so they're only going to get better. So, but you go back and watch the game. There's just so many things you can point out. Like first of all, Will Mallory played like trash, like absolute trash. He dropped 2 balls, and then he had a huge holding penalty on the Bubba Baxter fake field goal. Because if you get that, that's a 1st and goal, and changes the whole dynamic of the game. Because then Bubba Baxter doesn't miss the field goal, yada yada yada. Maybe we score. Like, it's just little things like that. The Cameron Davis 60-yard run, holding, bring it back. Like, you just have so many.
No, that was a shady call.
And then I'm gonna take a shot at my boy that I love, Al Blades Jr. You get that Romeo Finley inexplicable interception. I don't even know why they were throwing the ball. With 4 minutes left in the game, you get the ball back on their 20-yard line, and he goes and shoots 2 birds at Felipe Franks while he's laying on the ground right in front of the freaking referee. And then we get a 15-yard penalty that backs us up even more. And then we got the chop block penalty, and then we were all the way back at the 50-yard line.
And what you're seeing is a bunch of young guys in their first big game making young guy mistakes.
That's also got to be on the coach, man. That's got to be on
That's not on the coach. You can't. I'm sure Manny Diaz didn't tell Al Blades, hey, you should flick him off.
Of course.
So I'm sure he told him, use your head, don't get stupid penalties. I'm sure he told them. But young guys get caught up in the moment. I'm sure they teach Will Mallory, don't hold.
So many fucking things in that game that you can just go back and just.
Yeah, there's
one play. If you could take back like one play, like we win the game. Like there's so many.
There's a million things, and truthfully, if you could blame it on anything. You could blame the refs for missing a blatant false start on Florida, and that gave him 3 points. Had you taken that 3 points away,
picking up that PI in the end zone.
No, that wasn't pass interference in my opinion.
It was face guarding, bro.
There's no face guard in college.
Yeah, but you still don't. He was whatever.
I know you're mad. And like, trust me, I feel you. It's such frustration. But that was that's the thing is the refs made bad calls on Florida's end, but they weren't detrimental like they were Miami's. Like
Exactly.
the holding call on the big run on Harris, I thought was completely made up. They never showed a replay. And when I watched the game, you catch a little glimpse of, because I think they called it on Brevin and someone else. I saw
Nowhere
Brevin.
near the play, too. It's absolutely nowhere
Yeah,
near the play.
and
Like, come on,
Brevin didn't hold. At no point did he hold. So you took a touchdown away. That's detrimental and a bad call. You missed a false start on 4th and 5 for Florida, which gave him 3
Yep.
points. That's a detrimental call. And then you call 2 pass interference calls, which wasn't detrimental because both ended up being turnovers. However, you put Miami in bad field position by calling bad calls and letting them get further and further up the field and pinning us back and us wasting drives. So the refs did us.
And all I know, Kyle, is they better freaking. I'm starting to get heated now. They better, for the first practice tomorrow, they better put Bubba Baxa at that exact freaking spot that he missed that stupid 27-yard field goal and make him kick it 50 freaking times, because like you can't miss a 27-yard field goal when you're up by 3 late in the game. Like that is a killer. Because you think about it, the Romeo Finley, after we picked that ball, Al Blades gets the 15-yarder. We're back at the 35-yard line. All you got to do is run the ball a couple times, maybe get a first down. You don't have to try to do anything crazy, and then you try to kick a game-winning field goal. Again, like I said, there's just so many little things that
and listen, it all comes down to not 80% of the issues was having not only a young, inexperienced team, but an inexperienced coaching staff, and the ones that did have experience only being there a short amount of time and not having enough time to gel. I mean, the substitution penalties, that is part. I will blame that partially on the coaches. The not getting the play in quick enough and getting these plays set, that's partially on the coaches. But it's not like I'm not bashing the coaches. It's just any coach would have that issue. It takes time to gel. That's why I just don't get why Miami fans were so hyped on Miami. It's not because, like, obviously I agree with everyone. Miami can beat Florida. Florida is not nearly as good as they thought they were, and not nearly as good as the fans thought they were. But they are in year 2. They're a lot more sound in a lot of areas. We were not going to be. And then starting so many freshmen, it was going to be a rough day. That being said, everyone else who said they've watched the game again is getting upset. I watched the game again, and I am extremely excited. So, because again, listening to the Dan Enos interview today, I was screaming.
Loved it.
Oh, yeah. I was screaming the whole time. Why are we not taking deep shots to Jeff Thomas? Why are we not taking deep shots to Jeff Thomas? Well, you listen to the interview, they sent Jeff Thomas deep multiple times. But having a young freshman quarterback who also didn't have time.
Yeah, you got no time, man.
Yeah, you have no time. You're young. So I can't knock Dan Enos for that. Then I was screaming, you can't play under center against Florida. It's just you're going to get sacks playing under center. You saw that early on. Well, I watched the game again. He did adjust. We did a lot of shotgun, still getting sacked. We put a running back there to chip. We were still getting sacked. And we got sacked when they only blitzed 3. So our offensive line is quite bad at the moment, but mainly because of inexperience. So I think you and I nailed it on the head, even though you picked Miami, I picked Florida. But especially me, I'm going to brag on myself. I think I nailed it on the head on what was going to happen. However, the game was more in Miami's hands, even through all that, than I thought it would be.
And got lucky, bro. Like, it's not like it was like like you said, they didn't beat us. We just beat ourselves, man. Like nothing they
But
did.
That's a good sign. Like what America witnessed on live television was Florida, the 8th ranked team in the country, is not the 8th ranked team in the country. They're not the 8th best team in the country.
That's what they saw with Miami. They're really the 8th ranked team in the country. We better be top 15 next week because.
Well, I mean, what they saw was Miami was far better. Not better than necessarily them yet, but it's far better than what everyone thought they'd be. And they're coming up. They just need time to gel. And Florida still has a ton of issues. And listen, I still tip my hat to Dan Mullen because you can see Dan Mullen losing his mind because Franks is so bad. And he, I guess, thinks he's really good. Franks is on whatever world he's on. That dude is a horrible quarterback. He's a decent runner.
I don't know why they don't play. I really don't know why they don't play Emory Jones or Kyle Trask. Like,
I don't know.
Can they not be better? Is it one of those things where he just like maybe he's talked too much of a game at this point, like about how much he's improved and
people underestimate how much experience matters. Again, I know you've heard me say that word a trillion times.
Yeah,
Experience,
whatever.
experience.
Malik Rozier
But
had experience too, bro. Like,
okay, but and I get that, but I'm just telling you, clearly these coaches know more football than any of us. So like I get your point. I don't know why Jones wouldn't be in there now. He's been in there long enough to have enough experience to play. I don't know. But Franks also did pretty good in the tail end of the season. So it makes it, if he keeps playing like that, he will get pulled. And Jones will be in there. And there's a chance that
bro,
could happen.
he played uh, Idaho, FSU, some other FCS team, and then Michigan. Like that with down like 10 people. Like I knew all that shit was a mirage. Like
Oh,
he's not
yeah,
good.
and we all knew. But when you play an experienced coach that's had time to gel, and you play an experienced team who, listen, and here's another thing Miami fans need to understand. I kept hearing, well, Florida's defense is a joke. It's not really that good. They didn't get one turnover on Miami with a freshman quarterback. Florida's defense is 100% legitimate. What you saw was Dan Enos call a very, very good game. And clearly, could have easily been a lot of turnovers. Literally freshman tackles blocking NFL caliber defensive ends, very good defensive backs. And Dan Enos has coached already in a short period of time, is already molding
I agree.
Williams. He's already molding Williams to make good decisions, to maintain his poise. I mean, you can already see the effects of good coaching on Jaron Williams, and
I
that is
agree.
exciting.
And Grantham had a great game plan because you know what he said. He said I had two of the best corners in the country. I'm gonna get my front seven. I'm gonna make them pin their ears back, and they're just gonna freaking rush all day long. And
Yeah,
like you said, even times they rushed three, they still got to the quarterback. So it was like he's gonna say, "Hey, I'm gonna take my chances. I'm gonna let C.J. Henderson and Marco Wilson, two of the best corners in the country, just be on islands." And I'm gonna bring everyone all night, and that's what they did. And it was a smart game plan because when you got those, and that's why I said on Twitter today, I feel better because everyone's like, oh well, UNC's just gonna do that. They're just gonna blitz everyone all day, and it's like, no, they're not because you know what? They're gonna get burned because you don't have corners
yeah,
like Florida does. They don't have a
exactly.
secondary like
And
Florida does where
that's
they can
that's the
blitz
thing.
seven all day.
You just played game one, year one, freshman quarterback, the best defense you're going to play all year,
Oh,
and
without a
and,
doubt.
and you strung together more drives, more efficiency, more yards than Dan Mullen.
Bro, we look better in that
Going to
one
get
game.
better.
We look better in that one game than we did on offense all year last year.
I mean, and think about this: we were sacked 10 times. Okay, we lost a possession on that muff punt. A freshman quarterback, a fresh line, and we scored 20 points, which is like we had a bad game almost all around, and we still scored 20 points being ultra conservative, which is already more than what we were averaging last year with 14 to 17 points a game. The craziness that we had within Power
Oh,
5 schools. Like
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
such a
if we
good
had that
sign.
offense we had last year in the game on Saturday, we would have scored like 7 points, 3 points, maybe. Like, no, it was definitely the offense. They, like you said, they strung together drives. They had a 90-yard drive from the 10-yard line with a
And,
freshman
and
quarterback.
multiple times, I think one time we were in second and 19. Another time we were in second and 30 or second
Yeah,
and 20. Again,
there's
we were constantly in bad field position and still overcame it.
oh,
And on top of that, we're at the 1 yard line at one point, and we call that draw. Dan Enos pointed this out today, and I went back and watched it. We call a draw perfectly lined up. There is 17 yards of freedom for Harris to take the ball up. And again, inexperience plays its part, and he cuts right instead of just going up the middle and picking up the first down, and we get tackled. We only get a 6-7 yard gain. He stays straight between his two blockers. It's a first down. So it's just, again, I knew that the outcome was most likely going to be Florida winning simply because of experience. That was the case, 80% of it. Could have changed if some of our older guys didn't make some mistakes. However, that's football. I'm super excited. Let's organize our our conversation a little bit so we're not jumping all
okay.
around. So I'm gonna do a
Yeah.
little thing on complaints and compliments. So I'm gonna complain and compliment Florida, complain and compliment Miami. You chime in with me, okay?
Okay.
So Jaron Williams, I think we would both agree there's only really one complaint. He held the ball a little too long when he didn't need to because he's a young quarterback. Outside of
100%.
that, I don't think there's anything to complain about. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing to complain about because there's nothing you can't have expectations. The dude has only thrown 17 passes or 17 snaps in his entire career, and it was against Savannah State, one of the worst teams in all of college football. And he went out and he had poise and he didn't get rattled. Like I said, there's still probably 35 to 40,000 Gator fans there screaming. It was loud. The guy showed out. I'm not gonna forget one pass he had, dude, where I knew he had a quarterback. It was a 3rd and 16 at our 15 or 20-yard line, and he undercuts the safety, throws a dime right to Jeff Thomas on a slant for a first down, and I was like, all right, we got a quarterback. But yeah, he definitely held the ball a little too long. I mean, but that's easy to correct. That's really is, especially with these 2 weeks. It's one of those things where it's just, if it's not there, just get rid of it. Try to do too much at times, and that's inexperience.
So complaint, Jeff. Jeff. I
That's
kind of
it.
like you calling Jeff. Just get the ball out. That's it. Just get the ball out a little quicker. Because even later in the game, I thought, okay, Dan Enos has got to be telling this guy to either throw it or throw it away. Why do you continue to hold it? And I think, and Enos was livid when he did his interview. So held the ball a little too long. But outside of that, what good news it is to have a quarterback, and that's your biggest complaint with a freshman quarterback against a legitimate defense in UF. Running backs, we talked a little bit about we did the floor ceiling, and we said, hey, we both agreed DJ's ceiling is probably as good as he was last year.
We may be wrong on that one.
We may be wrong. He's down, 10, 15 pounds? Clearly far better. If that guy plays that way all season, he will not be here next year.
And you know what I love the most is he was pissed in the post-game interview. There's a GIF going around of his face, and they're all interviewing him, and he's a Cane, man. He is what the Canes used to be. That is a Cane. That's why I love watching.
It's impressive that he's a kid that's recruited as a receiver, transitions to running back, and he's probably the 3rd best running back to come through Miami in the past 10 years. I mean, outside of Duke and Lamar.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
maybe you could argue Greg Cooper, but man, I don't know, man. I think he's better than Mark Walton.
Yeah, Walton couldn't stay healthy. Yeah, I'd put him ahead of Walton. He's probably 3rd behind. Behind Lamar.
That's awesome. So, there's no complaint on his individual game plan. A few little complaints with Harris, mainly just him being young. Really, no complaints with our running backs. They did a good job. Harris, when he knew he couldn't make yards, he made contact. I love that. He missed a few little holes, but he also broke out for that big touchdown. So both running backs have already shown that they're solid, they're dependable, and now we're just waiting on Lorenzo. My only complaint is I don't know what the deal is with them blocking, but they stand 6 inches from the quarterback every time they block. And it's like the running back blocking scheme has gotten worse. It looked far better under Mark Richt, which is a little scary. Granted, there's only been one game, but I saw 2 or 3 sacks where they put a running back in there to chip him, and he's standing so close to Williams that he's getting knocked into him. It's like, why? What? And I don't know if that's really them or if it's the running back coaches or the scheme or what. But everything was a lot more compact than it usually is. That those running backs have to get a little more space. That way, when they make contact and they go back a little bit, because obviously you got a linebacker coming down full speed, you're going to go back. You cannot be on your quarterback's heels. So that was a little aggravating.
I think a lot of times they were overwhelmed. I think it was just a lot of like I said, I would look up, take a second to just look and see how our formation is, at the receivers and everything. And I look up the ball snapped. There's 3 or 4 dudes already in the backfield. So I think at times they just they retreated because it just felt so overwhelming. There were times where plays would plays would break down, and it was just all hell broke loose. Just guys running all over the place. Jaren's running with his a chicken with his head cut off, and so I think it's just everything just got out of whack. A lot of plays, they lost their assignments, and things just got.
With the receivers, and here's something I kind of tweeted out. I was a little concerned. Tate Martell already getting significant snaps, which if he can do it, I'm good with. I'm not against.
See, that's where we differ. I think I love the Tate Martell range.
No, and I don't dislike Tate Martell being out there, but you're not going to convince me that we have a future star in Mark Pope and Hightower and Wiggins if they're already losing out reps
Well,
to
it
Tate.
was rumored. It was rumored that Pope actually got hurt too, so that's why he wasn't on the
Okay,
field.
so
But
why? All right, and here's my thing. When we were tweeting this out, Miami fans were like, "Well, he's just in there as a decoy." Well, when he's playing quarterback or when he's running a little sweep, and we're running some wildcat or something, yeah, I agree with you. He was out there for a decoy, but it was 3rd and 9 when we needed that touchdown. When Jeff Thomas dropped that pass in the end zone, it was 3rd and 9. Guess who
yeah,
was on the other side running the same route?
yeah.
Tate Martell. So if Pope wasn't there, let's say he's injured, why don't you have Hightower or Wiggins or one of your big
I
body
was
guys over
Yeah,
Tate?
I agree. I was a little peeved that I didn't see more of Hightower because I've been really high on Hightower. I don't really know why. He's a big body, especially when you need guys to go up and get the ball, help out your quarterback.
So
Um,
what? And that's not a knock on Tate. Like if Tate's doing well enough to be out there, good for him. I hope he plays. My thing is, if you're a receiver going into your sophomore year, highly rated out of high school, and you look pretty good early on last season, and you're already getting beat out by Tate, like you can't tell me, well, he's not beat out. Well, if you're a good, dependable target, you're not going to be in there behind Tate
I
Martell
honestly
when Tate
think,
Martell's
dude,
been a receiver for a week.
I honestly think, Kyle, it was just they were looking for any sort of. I think they were looking for anything to kind of get it going, and if anything, I think they were just kind of using him to kind of throw him off a little bit and be like, all
But
right,
that doesn't. But in the shotgun, when you know it's a passing play, that doesn't throw anybody off. You put your slower, smaller receiver out there instead of your big-bodied, fast Bryant
he's
Hightower or somebody like that.
slower. Definitely not slower. He's probably faster
I
than
don't know. I mean, you got to
he's
also
small.
think about stride. You got to think about stride though. He might be quicker.
I will
But
have
that
one
doesn't mean he's
complaint
faster.
though. I have one complaint to say, and I was really I yelled at the game when this happened. We had a drive going, and Jaron was throwing all over the place. He was looking great. We got to the 30-yard line of Florida. I think it was in the third quarter, and it was like 1st and 10. And Tate goes out there at quarterback and runs this like quarterback sweep to the short side of the field and loses 2 yards. I don't really understand why. Jaron had his mojo going. He was having a great drive, and then they just kind of like killed the
Now
momentum.
that would be a moment where I would think they're trying to change it up a little. But yeah, I agree with you there.
But if he's got to go, you gotta stay with him.
Yeah. And here's another killer right after that play. It's 2nd and 9 or 10. And this again comes to experience. They call a pretty good play where on the short side of the field, Mallory's lined up. I believe he was supposed to run into the end zone because he's a big target. If he gets doubled, Jeff Thomas ran down kind of like a fake sweep and ran about a 1 yard route and turned right around. He was going to be underneath. So he was either going to go to a one-on-one pass to Mallory if he's one-on-one, or if he's doubled, it was going to go to Jeff Thomas
I was
underneath.
waiting for Mallory double, right?
Yeah, and well, Mallory ran the wrong route, and he ran the same route Jeff Thomas did. So there's basically standing on each other's feet, and it bunched everything up and it messed the play up. So there's a few plays where we're like, what is Dan Enos calling? But it's not Dan Enos. It's the players' inexperience in the playbook. So there's just a lot to be happy about. I'm a little concerned with Tate taking actual. He ran the same route Jeff Thomas did and was wide open for a touchdown. And
I know. Yeah,
and
I know.
so again, it goes to an inexperienced quarterback, inexperienced line, not giving him time to look.
I don't doubt that Tate could get it done. Like I said in the last podcast, I think he has some of the best athleticism on the team. I would love to see him in like a slot position. But like you said, it's one of those things where he told him he wanted to be a receiver like 5 days ago. Like it's kind of like one of those
and
things.
You're already getting important reps.
What's going on? Like
so that's
but like seemed a little early for that.
So that's
but whatever.
That's kind of my concern there a little bit. But man, overall the offense, compliment wise, I thought it was good variety of play calling, especially when you're being conservative and haven't had time to put together a full game plan, use your full playbook. I thought a lot of guys played very well. Just a lot of miscues, a lot of penalties, and that's another thing I pointed out. Consider the penalties that are going to happen with a young offensive line. That happened a lot. So, hey, if you listen to the Canecast nailed it on the head on this one. We're just going to say it. If we get it wrong the next game, I'll admit to it as well.
But I just want to say something too. I went back and forth with people on Twitter, UF fans, FSU fans, UCF fans, Miami fans, about like, guys, this is week 1, not even week 0, so it messed with everyone's schedule as well, like how it usually is. And you have a ton of young guys on this team. what did you expect from both teams? Did you expect this to be the cleanest game like you've ever seen? Like these week one games are normally you'll see them next week at this weekend too with all these week one big matchups. You'll see them. They'll be sloppiest games you've ever seen.
Yeah,
Like
it's preseason
Manny,
basically.
I think Manny said it today. Like there's a reason why NFL has 4 preseason games. Like
Yeah.
it's to work out the kinks. So like, I'm super excited that we have 2 weeks off because you know what? It goes back to the drawing board. They have tape now that they can look at and they can correct all the issues that they had, and it'll be fine. They'll work it
And,
out.
and again, that's why Florida had the advantage because when you're playing such a quick schedule and quick time, the team that's going to have the most experience is going to have a better chance because it's an early game. So
I
it's
think you've said experience maybe 30 times.
I'm going to say, oh yeah, I'm going to say it the whole time. Like this is intentional. I'm intentionally saying experience because every play other than Jeff Thomas, and then the missed field goal,
AJ
which even
Osborne.
that,
Osborne.
KJ Osborne didn't do anything wrong. He played a great game.
He didn't do enough. But.
I mean, he got every time the ball was given to him, he made a play every time. So outside of his speed sweep, and the last thing with that complaints and compliments, like, and let's make this clear real quick. I will say kudos to Florida. Their special teams did very well. Their punter did very well. Their defensive line is legit. They played a very good game outside, and it just tacks on top of it that we had young guys, but they are legit. Florida played a good game, but offensively they're absolutely horrible, and we had every opportunity to win, and we beat ourselves. And that's why Miami fans are mostly angry. We beat ourselves. We didn't get beat. So that happened. But that's kind of my only compliment I'm going to give UF. They did play a good game. They did, kind of stay the course toward the end of the game. But ultimately we hurt ourselves. My only complaint with Enos, man, because I thought I had a couple. And then I listened to his interview and I watched the game again, and I was wrong completely across the board. My only thing I was a little upset about was why there weren't any more screens to Jeff Thomas and why he didn't get more touches. Like, I know we sent him down the field, but like you saw early on, we were giving sweeps and screens to KJ, and he was making plays. Screens and passes to Brevin, and he was making plays. We gave DJ screens and runs and Wildcat, and he was making plays. We threw one screen all game to Jeff Thomas, and he got 16 yards, and we never did it again.
Yeah,
that was a little upsetting.
Bizarre. It was a little bizarre because it seemed like when they got into the third and especially the fourth quarter, it seemed like they were pressing, and I don't know why. First of all, they completely abandoned the run. We barely ran the ball like in the fourth quarter, and I get it. Maybe we weren't having the best success other than the big DJ Dallas run and a couple other runs, but you got to help out your freshman quarterback. It just seemed like every time he was going back, every time we snapped the ball, he was just dropping back,
and that's where I'll always give Mark Richt credit. Is even with his 4 whole plays, he never tried to do too much. He was never fluster.
He never abandoned the run. That's the thing.
The moment was never too big. You know what I mean? And so I don't know why we got away from. And I know people hate bubble screens because we ran it all the time, but they still work. I mean, Brevin Jordan got busted off yards. KJ Osborne busted off yards. Why are we not running bubble screens?
That's what I'm saying.
In the fourth quarter?
I feel like we once we got to the end of the third into the fourth, we forgot we had a freshman quarterback, and we were dropping back doing play action
and
all these crazy things. Just stick to what you're doing. 3-4 yard passes.
Partially, I get Enos's point because as offensive coordinator, you're looking downfield and you're going, "Good Lord, I have a receiver open all the time. He's getting behind the Florida defense all the time. All we got to do is get the ball to him, and I have a quarterback that can do it. Let's figure out a way to give him 2 seconds." And kudos to Florida, they never gave us 2 seconds. So, but yeah, that's my only complaint on Enos. Why did we abandon the screen game late in the game? Now, he kept throwing some screens to Dallas, but Dallas was worn out. Everyone knew it was coming. Get the ball in Jeff Thomas's hand a little more. That's my only complaint. But outside of that, dude, man, Dan Enos thoroughly impressed me.
Yeah. My only complaint, like I said before, it just seemed like we abandoned the run a little bit. It seemed like we pressed a little bit. Too many play actions going into the fourth quarter. If your guys got zero pass protection, why are you doing play actions? Drop back, 2-step drop, do a quick little short pass, do something, and that's why that first drive was super, super impressive. I loved the first drive. It obviously was scripted. You could tell. A ton of screens, ton of short passes to Brevin. They were moving down that field. I was like, I felt really good after that first drive, and then it felt like we abandoned that a little bit. But yeah, I'm impressed. I mean, it's his first game in what, over a year since he was OC at Arkansas. So I mean, just like anyone else,
Longer than that.
gotta,
First game. I mean, that's first game calling plays in a couple of years.
yeah, just like anyone, just like the players, you got to dust it off a little bit. So I mean,
So, and transitioning from OC, man, and I know Diaz had a hand in it, but Blake Baker called an amazing game. I mean, his ability, and people were getting upset with why aren't we getting more sacks? And yet again, I told people the offense that they run, you're not going to get a lot of sacks because they get the ball out quick. So your whole argument, our front seven's so good, is irrelevant.
And anytime he dropped back for a decent amount of time, he had pressure on him.
Yeah, he had pressure, but at no point the ball just gets out too quickly. You're not going to sack Franks enough.
That's what I'm saying. I agree. I'm saying, but anytime they did, actually drop him back a little bit, they had pressure on him. But like you said, the majority of the time they're quick passes.
Well, the game plan too was they knew he was a runner, and this is where I was impressed. They knew that the kid could run, so they would blitz 3, and the defensive end, Garvin, or one of those guys would drop back and play a spy. Now, that limits the pressure on him, but, man, it put him in bad situations consistently. And the fact that you made them go for it on fourth down. Yeah, the fact that you made him go for it on fourth down 4 times, man, you're like no other teams are going to hard enough. He's a good enough coach to know they needed to do that to keep momentum going. Because had they punted those 4 times, you're talking about, I mean, and we probably win the ball game then. You know what I mean? Like they were moving the ball. Because they had
probably win the ball game. We do this. We probably win the ball game.
that's the whole shebang, and that's credit to Florida. I won't say that. Hey, if they had punted, we win. They chose to go for it on fourth down. They made it every time. There's nothing we could really do about it. Kudos to them. They did a great job doing that. But that impresses me. That impresses me that you forced them to go for it on fourth down right off the bat. That is the effect of Manny Diaz. He has the effect of jump on you as quick as possible, get momentum rolling, and Dan Mullen's experienced enough to know we can't allow this momentum to keep rolling. We have to do something, and he did it consistently and did it well. So that was very good play calling on his behalf. But, man, Blake Baker did a good job. I mean, he did an excellent job.
He did an amazing job. And I'll point out one thing, too, is the defensive line did great. They didn't get any running game really going. They didn't get anything established. And like I said, I think, Bethel and Ford, they're not going to be studs in my opinion, but I think they're going to be very serviceable. They're going to be very, very solid. They're going to be good enough. And like I said, the running game is in the last pod. The running game is Florida's bread and butter, and they did a good job kind of shutting them down. They didn't really get anything going. Kind of made them a little more one dimensional. So like you said, Blake Baker, I think we got a good one in the making. And I read a lot of things the other day about a lot of people were saying that he actually may end up being the better hire out of him and Dan Enos when it's all said and done.
Possibly.
I see Dan Enos. Well, I see Dan Enos jumping ship in a couple years, anyways. So, but I see Blake Baker maybe.
Any of them can do it. Depends on which ones want a head coaching job, because clearly, now that it's year 3 and it was game 1 and they did such a good job defensively, we know now that Miami is going to be a defensive juggernaut from here on out, especially because you see who's getting recruited now. You're about to have far better athletes at the linebacker position, far better athletes in the defensive backfield, far better athletes along the defensive line. Like, Miami's just scratching the surface on the kind of athletes they're going to bring in. So, with that being said, the more dominant you are consistently, the more overturn you're going to have with coaches.
Can I say one thing, Kyle, real quick? My one complaint, because the defense, not much to talk about. My one complaint on the defense is, I got to say, maybe it's because he did such a good job that I didn't really notice, but the Quarterman, Pinckney, McLeod crew, it kind of seemed like they were absent a little bit. It didn't seem like – I didn't see them make very many plays. I don't know if it's because – just the way the game shaked out, or
they were there to stop the run, and we did a lot more. There's just a whole lot because you're playing against a spread. There's a whole lot more time for Striker to be out there. So McLeod's on the field a lot less. And then you got to rotate Quarterman and them a little bit to give them some breaks. So there's a lot more Striker on the field, and they were playing up a lot more, blitzing a little more, kind of playing a little more spy. Doesn't put them in position to make as many plays.
And I need to say something. Because I need to get some cred. Who was the player that I said in last pod that I think is going to be one of the most surprising defensive players on the field this year that not a lot of people are talking about? You probably don't remember.
What, Patchen?
No, Romeo Finley. That dude was
a
dog on
lights
Saturday.
out. He was lights out.
Phenomenal. And then he had that big pick in the fourth quarter. That of course we did nothing with, but that guy is going to be a stud. I think he's going to play himself into a draft pick this year. I'm telling you. You
did that, and he did a great job, and I think Fryerson's going to be just as good, if not better, once he gets up there, because Fryerson's already making plays. So we're good. You see,
we're good on the defense side of the ball for years to come.
You see the blue chip guys getting older, and now it's getting better and better. Your depth's getting a little better, and fans have to think about this. Okay, there was no Lorenzo Lingard in this game. Nesta Severa, our highest rated recruit on the defensive tackle position, doesn't play. Bubba Bolden doesn't play because he's not eligible yet. Suspend Ivy. You suspend Ivy. You have a transfer at safety. You have a transfer at defensive back. So, we're as depleted as we possibly can, and they absolutely shut down a very, very good receiving core in the University of Florida. Absolutely shut them down. So, I mean, I can't say enough
we have reinforcements coming too. That's the thing. We have Bolden, like you said. We have Nesta should be back by the 5th game.
It's getting.
We got reinforcements coming. It's only going to get better.
Yeah, it's getting impressive. Again, the young guys made some key mistakes just on one or two plays, but outside of that, 98% of the time they're solid. So that's going to get shored up. That's a good sign. We're about to get callers in here because we've jumped around, but man, we both agree that
we'll be all right.
There's a million ways. There's a million ways we could have won this game. And
Kyle, let me put you on the spot real quick before we get callers, and I'll give my opinion after. Do you still expect us to win the Coastal?
Absolutely.
All right.
Nothing else.
I'd say I feel more confident, 1,000 times more confident today in winning the Coastal than I did going into the Florida game, because, like you said, we're not going to face a better group of receivers. We're not going to face a better defense. Better skill players all over the field than Florida. This
is lined up again for us where you have a good season, you land that top 10 class. You roll into next year when everyone's sophomores and juniors. Have you seen that schedule? You think that this schedule's easy? Next year's schedule is mind-boggling easy. Some teams will be better than what we're playing this year, but our toughest out of conference game is Michigan State.
Yeah, I know, but our tougher ACC games will be on the road, like Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. Come on, man. Virginia, until I see Virginia recruiting top 25, until I see them recruit top 25, don't.
Man, I'm golden.
Don't mention Virginia on this podcast. I hate this.
You told me. So much. What did I text you earlier? That I was even worried about North Carolina.
That's ridiculous. And here's the thing. My only concern is I am concerned about the tackles and the sacks, because you can force some turnovers with that happening. So going into Virginia or somebody, they're going to pressure a lot. I hope they get that shored up a little bit. But
the one good thing, too, is those games are at home. So it's always just a lot easier when it's a home crowd.
Yeah.
You got
I just think, man, I'm extremely confident in the Coastal. As long as the offensive line doesn't just plays a little better than they did last night, yeah, the Coastal is easily going to be won. And then next year, you run through that schedule, you land another top 10 class, you're going to be setting yourself up to be able to compete against Clemson and Alabama. So we're in good hands. That game showed me a lot. I actually feel better after rewatching it than before. We can sit here and talk for hours about had they not done this, had they done this. I don't think the refs took the game away, but they definitely assisted
UF.
On
both sides of the ball. You can't. They were bad on both sides of the ball. Florida had bad calls.
We just control what we can control.
Ours were more detrimental. Like you just said, ours were more detrimental. That's what I mean.
If we control what we can control, we would have won the ball game. And that's it.
Yep.
Fans should be happy. You should be happy with Manny Diaz because you saw the effect he's had on this team where the offense never gave up and the defense never gave up. And they played tough. You saw the effect. The way he coaches is important. You saw how Enos put together a great game plan. If you go back and watch, you see where we're going to be good in the future because the receivers are getting wide open against a good defense. We're just young. And then defensively, you saw Blecker put together a great game. And young DBs shut down experienced, talented receivers.
Yeah, I just want to make one last point. Let me just go to college. Like you said, yeah, you saw the difference in just Manny's attitude last night in the team. If Mark Richt was around in the team of last year, when Jeff Thomas muffed that punt and they scored a touchdown and went up 4 points, that would have been the ball game, 100%. Like they would have run away with it. It's just the team wasn't built that way. Like they were very adverse to any sort of adversity that they would get. Instead, got the ball back, went down the field, scored. DJ Dallas had this 50-yard run. That right there just showed the difference in the attitude of the team.
Yeah. Well, we're going to post it out. Let some guys call in.
Callers here.
And let's see. I actually got one. Somebody's been hitting me up wanting to be on for a while because we missed him the last 2 times. So we'll get him on first, and then we'll put it out there and see what you guys have to say, and we'll just discuss the game a little bit. I know, I want to be a little more organized on how we broke that down, but they're so easy to jump around because it's like, oh, what about this? What about that? But, what's going on?
Welcome to
Hey, guys. How you doing?
What's up, man?
Good.
Hey, doing well. RC here from the 305. Just wanted to check in with you real quick and go over a couple of key points that I thought need to be mentioned. One thing in particular, a lot of people making comments about the number of snaps that Tate got and the number of snaps that other kids didn't get, including Mark Pope. I think we need to understand that was a special package in which the defense, which especially our Todd Grantham defense, is so well disciplined that they're going to go ahead and look at those keys. And he was also primarily involved more in the Wildcat. It wasn't the number of snaps like some media outlets are presenting. It's not the number of snaps, it's the situation and the package. So when you look at true situations, he was in more for gimmicks, to give that look, to keep the defense honest and go backdoor and get some really good looks. The second thing, a lot of people are complaining about the number or lack of pressure and sacks. I know we were in the backfield 3 or 4 times, weren't able to wrap him up and finish the play, but people don't understand that number 97 played a lot of the spot. And in that role, your job is to maintain and to make sure he doesn't go to the area where he's most effective. You want to stay to the left, and that's, if you look at all the highlights, it worked perfectly. Yeah, we didn't get enough sacks, obviously. It's going to have some more pressure, but a lot of it had to do with the calls that were made for those situations. So 2 big things that people are really concerned about, I think, need to be really looked at more intricately to have a better perspective of what was actually going on in the game.
Well, we discussed both of those topics, actually, and 100% agree with you on the pressuring the quarterback thing. Yeah, we mentioned that fans need to recognize the spy and what we were trying to do there. As far as the Tate thing, you're correct on that as well. The media is kind of pushing the wrong idea that he was out there as a true wide receiver every time. However, he was on crucial downs out there still playing wide receiver. And I think there is a fair reason to question as to why that is. And if he's good, that's great. But it's a little discouraging, even outside of maybe Pope was injured, that Hightower and those other guys weren't getting those critical third down snaps as big body, big receivers who've been practicing for 2 years versus a transfer quarterback who's been practicing for a week. So it's still somewhat legitimate, but not, but like you said, we agree with you, not by looking at the snaps, but looking at when he did play receiver.
Yeah, RC, I think we went back to, that 3rd and 9 on one of the last drives where Brevin went up and tried to catch that ball and the PI got picked up. You see Tate on one of the sides of the field just being a slot receiver essentially. So it's kind of like, it's just kind of making you wonder, like maybe it's because like he's played the majority of the game and Hightower already didn't get many snaps, so they didn't want to put him in that late in the game. But like one of my things is if you're going to go towards the end zone, you kind of want one of your bigger bodies out there. And I just didn't see the need to have him out there. So it just, I don't know. I'm all for it.
Well,
but
I'll tell you what you saw there. If you go back to before the pre-snap, he went in motion twice. He tried to match up first time on the one linebacker that was in the game at that point. The second time on the strong safety. That was his whole point, was to take one of those guys with him, and by doing so, that's why Bergman was so wide open. And when you look at there were 3 snaps in particular that he was essential, as you said, in the slot, but it was also decoy something in the matchup. He's mine. And then after that, oh my God, he's going down, and you draw the defense a little bit toward him to start, and then they go ahead and play just basic, they zone off and get in a help situation and a recovery situation. But the last thing, if I could, guys, you guys do a wonderful job. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
I don't understand, as well as Enos is, and as good as he's going to be here, and he's going to develop this kid. There's no question in my mind he is the guy. But getting away from what he utilized early and stretching the defense horizontally, not vertically, horizontally, and then going back and getting away from the quick reads and the quick throws, I think that played into the hands of Florida. Having the opportunity for a 3-step drop, 5-step drop, one time the first sack, obviously, which, by the way, Jeff Thomas was wide open on the third snap of the offensive series. He's wide open for a touchdown, but giving that kid that much time to make a play instead of keeping him in rhythm. And his rhythm, I think, is what allowed him to breathe a little bit. So we got away from that. So that's something I think that maybe I'm being picky, but a lot of guys in my section, pretty much where we're watching the game, were mentioning, hey, listen, you were able to get the right matchups. They're kind of playing a little soft on the back end. Why not continue to stay with what's giving you 3 and 4 yards a pop? There's nothing wrong with taking 3 or 4 yards a pop.
Well, and you're not wrong in that. Again, another time they were playing real soft, so we saw the one-on-one matchup, and Pope takes a little slant, picks up 5 yards, something like that. As to why we got away from just running slants when they're playing soft, I don't know. That is a little confusing. I do know later in the game, and I just mentioned earlier, why did we not throw any more screens to Thomas? Why did we not have any other plays set up to keep him in rhythm late in the game? But I do know that there are some factors that possibly could play into it. That doesn't mean I'm correct here. One being, after listening to Enos talk today and rewatching the game, they begin to play up. They begin to know that we were going to throw these screens. They began to play up a little more in the second half, and our receivers were getting wide open down the field. And so Dan Enos, I think, was trying to make a play happen where it's like, look, give him 3 seconds, Jaron can make this play. Because you saw DJ get blown up twice in the second half in the fourth quarter. We tried to run a screen that went nowhere because they were picking up on it a little bit. Now, there's more people to throw screens to. Why did we get away from it? Why did we not throw a bubble screen to a big tight end like Mallory and let him pick up some yards? Why did we not throw a slant? I agree with you there, but I do know that Florida played a little tighter there in the end, so there's different factors.
Yeah, I think I agree, and I agree with Kyle. Like we talked about earlier in this podcast, you'll hear it tomorrow. I felt like we kind of got away. I feel like we were pressing a little bit going into the fourth quarter. Too many play actions, trying to do too much. Like there had to have been simpler play calls, and I feel like they kind of got away from what was being successful early in the game. Like you said though, they changed up the scheme a little bit, Grantham and their defense, so maybe that played a little bit into it. But do something, some jet sweep, something to help the quarterback out. It just seemed like they forgot he was a freshman in the fourth quarter, and they were doing too much. Your offensive line can't hold it more than 2 seconds. Why are you doing so many play actions from under center and doing all these crazy things? Like it's not going to work.
There's reasons we could all be picky, but if you go back, there's a lot of things he did correctly and that he changed. But we're with you on that. We have another caller in though, man. So we're going to.
All right, guys. Hey, take care. Thank you so much for doing this every week for us, man. I appreciate it.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you for following and thank you for calling in.
Go Canes.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Go Canes.
Jeremy, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? What's happening, man? How you doing?
Good, man. Good. What's going on?
What's up, guys?
Not much, man. Just it was heartbreaking Saturday, but I've seen a lot of positives out of the bad things. But,
were you at the game, man?
Yeah, you know it. I was down there. I had to be there. I couldn't miss it.
Yeah, I was there too, man. It was.
So you got any questions? Any thoughts? Anything you want to share?
I just got a few thoughts, man. to be honest, man, the way the game played out, man, we really just beat ourselves. We really beat ourselves. It's nothing Florida did that, like, it's nothing they really earned. You see what I'm saying? It's like, when you go back and watch that game, every time we had a chance to just really put them away, because truthfully, their offense wasn't going to do anything. I don't care about all the networks are saying, oh, Florida has a stable of backs, da-da-da-da-da. That defense we have is just tremendous, man. I don't care what nobody says. Like, outside of that Tony screen, which it was some missed tackles for one, but then also, if you go back and look at that play, it was kind of a good call because we were, like, short on that side, so we had to scramble to that side to even try to make the play. You know, they called it in kind of a odd defense, but I think Jaren, for the most part, as much pressure he was, like, on most of the night, he did do a lot of good things. I will say this, going back to that play with Jeff Thomas in the end zone with that route, I might have preferred to have a bigger receiver, like, say, Hightower.
Exactly.
Out there.
Yeah.
But, you know, I never question coaching. You know, that's something the guys get paid millions of dollars to do. And at the end of the day, man, you know, it's just, we just left a lot of plays on the floor. Like, I mean, out on the field. You know, we would do good things and then turn around and get a couple holds and get some false starts. You know, but
well,
Jeremy,
go ahead. Kev.
No, you good. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jeremy, it's Kevin. Hey, so yeah, I'll agree with you. I mean, like I said earlier in the pod, and you'll hear it tomorrow. It felt like we had so many chances to put the game away. Because, like you said, their offense was doing nothing, and all you had to do was get up 2 scores, make them throw the ball more, and there's no chance of them coming back. You know, you look at a lot of different plays. You know, the 60-yard Cameron Davis phantom holding call. You know, like all the way down at the 4 to 4 yard line, you got a chance to go up 20-10. You know, it's just so many different things happened when we were up 13-10 or up 3 points that we had a chance to kind of put them away per se. And it felt like we couldn't capitalize on it. But I mean, they'll be better for it, man. They're inexperienced. They're going to learn from this. They're only going to improve. And like we said earlier in the pod, I mean, we think the Coastal's ours. There's just if it isn't, it's a massive disappointment. So
I agree. And like you said, man, you know, when you talk about the defense played lights out. It played lights out all the way through. Missed tackles just comes to young guys, you know, not using their technique. You know, getting away from making good angles, from wrapping up, from getting low. And like you said, it was a good call on Dan Mullen's behalf. He called a great call. He gave his athlete enough space to make a broke tackle. However, all we had to do was play the way we're taught, and it happened. And look, at the end of the day, I can't blame refs on it. I can't say that Florida beat us because they're better. At the end of the day, you don't drop a punt, you don't miss a field goal, you make tackles. It's simple football, and in that, Florida won the ball game because they did it more, because they have a little more experience, and we're close, and we could have done it. But, you know, I think it's a good sign. I think it would have been better. It's more painful to see a game be lost because we lost it. We didn't get beat. But it's also good news in the situation we're in.
Yeah, and just one more thing. I know Jeff Thomas, people have been going at his neck. But if they go back, Jeff Thomas made probably 2 or 3 key third down conversions. The man did get his neck ripped out, like in that last minute on that play. He had to do something where he had to call DB to really grab him on that, on that pass interference. But also, man, the kid was blocking his ass off, man. You know, it was some plays like with Brevin Jordan on screens, and a couple of them plays with DJ Dallas got loose. Go back. I tell people, go back and watch that game and watch what that kid was doing, man.
Man.
It was a lot of, you know.
Yeah, I hate when people do that whole picking one player out and try to put the blame on him. There's plenty of blame to go around. A lot of guys made mistakes. You want to blame Bubba Baxter for missing a chip shot, 27-yarder, no one should miss. Like, the kid's a kid. He's gonna make mistakes. It's a team sport. You know.
Yeah.
The kid is a stud, and he's gonna make a lot more important plays than bad plays. So just, it happens.
Yeah, man. But definitely, man, I love what you guys doing. Good show. And, Definitely, man. We will get past this, and like y'all say, the coaster should be ours. If we lose the coaster, honestly, it's just because of us. It's nobody else. We only have to blame ourselves if we don't win the coaster.
There you go. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah, man. Y'all have a good one.
All right, thanks, man. Thanks for calling. All right, guys, we are having a rough time with signal, so we're going to cut it off at 2 callers. But for the guys that called in, we do appreciate it. Look, we kind of gave our banter back and forth. It was definitely an insane game, definitely a winnable game on Miami's behalf. Million reasons we could blame. I'll say a few things ending on this, and I'll let you in some things. One, I don't hate Jeff Thomas by any means. People that are giving him too much crap, it's kind of ridiculous. He's a vital part of our team, and I think that I wish he would have got the ball in his hands more in the fourth quarter. And anyone who's already down on Dan Enos or Diaz, you clearly know nothing about football, so stop watching it and stop commentating on it because the guys are changing the program, doing an excellent job. And then also, they did beat a pretty good UF team. Not a great offense, but a very good defense and a very experienced offense. Or they beat them, but they did an excellent job in competing with those guys. And I think that is a good sign for the future. And so I'm excited. I think the game, there's a million ways we could have won, but I'm excited with the way we played through 4 quarters. So with that being said, Kev, you can give your final thoughts.
Yeah, guys. I was one of the more frustrated Canes fans out there. I had to get off Twitter on Sunday because there's just too many overreactions. But everyone just relax. I know we're all frustrated because it was Florida. But remember where we were last year at this time. We had just come off a blowout loss where we were down 33-3 to LSU. The team just looks night and day different, just from an attitude perspective. And just know that that's a great thing to see because that's something that's been lacking for a long time. Talent has always been there. But just to know that we have a guy by the name of Manny Diaz that's really going to instill an attitude in this team that is going to take them places. So just be patient, enjoy the ride, because you know what? We have a really, really interesting and fun young team that I think is going to improve a lot throughout this year. And you're going to look back at this game 1 and kind of laugh at some point, I think maybe in game 7 or 8 of this year, because you're just going to see how much they improved. And, I think it's going to end up ultimately being a really fun year. So
and people have to realize last year, everyone was just as angry about the LSU game. And then you win 5 games in a row, 5 or 6 games in a row.
5 in a row.
People are like, oh, we're going to still contend for this and this and this. You know what I mean? Until we saw that wasn't the case. So I think you're going to see that again this year, but you're not going to see the ridiculous upsets along the way. I think Miami can definitely still drop a game with the young guys they have, but I think you're going to see a lot more consistency and you're going to see some fun games down the road. So I agree with you.
Agree.
Nothing to be mad about. I mean, things to be mad about, yes. When you're an older guy like Jeff Thomas, you deserve for people to be upset that you dropped the ball.
There's things to be mad about, but know that we have the right people in place to correct them. Exactly.
So that being said, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for kind of hearing us talk over each other and give our points because we're both heated. It was fun, and we will talk to you guys next week with our North Carolina breakdown.
Go Canes!